Something inside you already knows that the life you're living right now is only a fraction of what's possible. There's a quiet voice that refuses to settle, a feeling that you were meant for more, meant to experience more, meant to become more. And yet, every day, you find yourself circling the same thoughts, the same doubts, the same limitations. But what if the barrier isn't the world around you, but the story you keep telling yourself? Right now, in this very moment, you are closer to everything you desire than you have ever been. The truth is, manifestation doesn't begin outside, it begins within. Every reality you experience is first created in your mind, shaped by your beliefs and fueled by your emotions. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are convinced is already yours. Think about it. Every decision you make, every action you take is influenced by what you assume to be true. Change the assumption, and you change the direction of your entire life without forcing a single external outcome. But here's where most people get it wrong. They wait. They wait for proof, for signs, for permission from the outside world to believe in something greater. Yet the power has always been reversed. Belief comes first, reality follows. When you begin to feel as if your desire is already fulfilled, something shifts in your energy, in your posture, in your decisions. You stop chasing and you start embodying, and that subtle shift changes everything around you. Look at your thoughts closely, because they are not random, they are seeds. Every repeated thought plants itself deeper into your subconscious, and over time it grows into your reality. If you constantly think in terms of lack, fear, or limitation, you are unknowingly rehearsing a future you don't even want. But if you deliberately choose thoughts of abundance, confidence, and certainty, you begin to rewrite the script of your life. And the most powerful part? You can choose differently starting right now. Feelings are the language of manifestation. It's not enough to say you want something, you must feel what it would be like to already have it. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your desire fulfilled in vivid detail. How does it change the way you breathe, the way you walk, the way you speak to yourself? That feeling is not an illusion. It's a preview of a reality waiting for your acceptance. Stay in that feeling long enough, and your mind begins to accept it as truth. Doubt will try to interrupt you, and that's expected. Your mind has been conditioned for years, maybe even decades, to believe in limitations. So when you suddenly choose a new belief, it feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. But discomfort is not a sign of failure, it's a sign of transformation. You are stepping into a new identity, and your old patterns are resisting. Stay consistent, and eventually, what feels unnatural today will become your new normal. Stop looking for evidence in your current reality to justify your belief. Your current circumstances are nothing more than the result of your past thinking. If you keep reacting to them, you will keep recreating them. Instead, become loyal to your vision, not your situation. Hold on to the image of what you want with such clarity and conviction that it begins to feel more real than what you see around you. That's when the shift truly begins. You don't need to control every detail or force every outcome. In fact, the more you try to control, the more resistance you create. Manifestation is not about struggle, it's about alignment. When your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are in harmony with your desire, life begins to move in ways you couldn't have planned. Opportunities appear, connections form, and circumstances rearrange themselves in your favor without you even realizing how it happened. Patience is not about waiting, it's about trusting. Trusting that what you've imagined is already taking shape, even if you can't see it yet. Just like a seed planted in the soil, your desire is growing beneath the surface. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's working. You trust the process, and in the same way you must trust that your inner work is creating outer results, even when there is no visible evidence. The moment you truly understand this, everything changes. You stop chasing validation, stop comparing your journey to others, and stop questioning your worth. You realize that you are the creator, not the victim of your reality. And with that realization comes a sense of power, a sense of calm, a sense of certainty that no external circumstance can take away from you. So decide today. Decide that you are no longer going to live by default, reacting to whatever life throws at you. Decide that you will consciously choose your thoughts, your beliefs, and your identity. Because the life you desire is not something you have to earn, it's something you have to accept. And the moment you accept it fully, without hesitation, without doubt, is the moment everything begins to change. Everything begins with a thought, even the life you're living right now. The way you see yourself, the way you react to situations, the way you expect things to turn out, it all starts in your mind before it ever appears in your reality. Most people move through life unaware of this, repeating the same thoughts day after day and then wondering why nothing changes. But the truth is simple and powerful. Your mind is not just observing reality, it is actively shaping it. And once you understand that, you realize you're not stuck. You're just repeating patterns that can be rewritten. Think about how often you talk to yourself without even noticing. Those silent conversations, those quick judgments, those assumptions you make about what is possible or impossible, they are constantly programming your subconscious. If you repeatedly tell yourself that something is difficult, that you're not capable, or that success is out of reach, your mind begins to accept that as a fact. And once it becomes a belief, your actions start aligning with it. You hesitate, you doubt, you hold back, and without realizing it, you create the exact results you were afraid of. Now imagine flipping that script completely. Imagine choosing thoughts that support your growth instead of limiting it. Instead of saying, I can't, you begin to say, I am capable. Instead of expecting failure, you start expecting progress. At first, it might feel unnatural, even forced, because your mind is used to the old pattern. But repetition is the key. Just like negative thoughts became automatic through repetition, empowering thoughts can become your new default the same way. It's not about pretending, it's about training your mind to see a different possibility. Your brain doesn't always distinguish between what is real and what is consistently imagined. When you hold a thought long enough and attach emotion to it, your mind begins to treat it as reality. This is why your dominant thoughts have such a strong influence on your life. If your mind is constantly focused on problems, you become more aware of obstacles. But if you deliberately focus on solutions, opportunities start to stand out. It's not magic, it's the way your perception filters the world around you. Pay attention to your reactions because they reveal your beliefs. When something doesn't go your way, do you immediately assume it's proof that things never work out for you? Or do you see it as a temporary situation that you can move through? That one difference in thinking changes everything. The first keeps you stuck in a cycle of limitation, while the second keeps you open to growth and possibility. Your reactions are not random, they are reflections of what you've been telling yourself internally. There is also a powerful connection between your thoughts and your actions. When you believe something is possible, you naturally take steps toward it without forcing yourself. You become more confident, more willing to try, more open to opportunities. But when you believe something is out of reach, you either don't act at all or you act with hesitation and fear. This is why mindset is so important, because it determines not just what you think, but what you do. And your actions, repeated over time, shape your entire life. Changing your thoughts doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing how you interpret reality. Two people can go through the same situation and walk away with completely different outcomes, simply because they thought about it differently. One sees failure and gives up, while the other sees a lesson and grows stronger. The difference is not in the situation, it's in the mindset. And that mindset is something you can consciously develop. Start becoming aware of the thoughts you repeat most often. Are they helping you move forward, or are they keeping you stuck? Awareness is the first step to change. Once you notice a limiting thought, don't just accept it as truth. Question it. Replace it with something that aligns with where you want to go. It might feel small in the beginning, but these small shifts add up. Over time, they create a completely new mental environment, and that new environment produces different results. Consistency is what makes this process powerful. Thinking differently once or twice won't change much, but thinking differently every day will transform everything. Your mind is like a muscle. The more you train it in a certain direction, the stronger it becomes in that direction. If you consistently choose empowering thoughts, they become easier, more natural, and eventually automatic. And when that happens, your reality begins to reflect that internal shift without you even trying to force it. Remember, you are not your past thoughts. Just because you've been thinking a certain way for years doesn't mean you have to continue. You have the ability to choose again, right now, in this moment. And that choice is more powerful than you realize, because every new thought you choose is a step toward a new reality. And the more you choose thoughts that align with growth, confidence, and possibility, the more your life begins to move in that direction naturally. There is a difference between wishing for something and truly experiencing it within yourself. And that difference is what separates desire from manifestation. Many people say they want success, love, or abundance, but deep inside, they still feel lack, doubt, or fear. And it's that feeling, not the words, that shapes their reality. Your emotions are like signals you send out constantly, and whatever you consistently feel becomes the foundation of what you experience in your life. Think about a moment when you were genuinely happy or proud of yourself. Notice how your body felt lighter, your thoughts became clearer, and your energy shifted without effort. That emotional state didn't just change your mood, it changed the way you interacted with the world. Now imagine generating that same feeling intentionally, not because something happened, but because you chose to feel it. That is where your power lies, in your ability to create the emotion first and let reality follow. Your mind responds strongly to emotion because emotion gives meaning to your thoughts. A thought without feeling is weak, but a thought charged with emotion becomes powerful and memorable. When you imagine your desire as already fulfilled and allow yourself to feel the joy, relief, or excitement of it, your subconscious begins to accept it as something real. And once it accepts it, your behavior, your focus, and your decisions start aligning with that belief automatically. The challenge is that most people try to feel it only after they see results. They say, I'll be happy when I achieve it, or I'll feel confident once it happens. But that keeps the desire always just out of reach, because you're placing the emotion at the end instead of the beginning. The shift happens when you reverse that pattern, when you allow yourself to feel fulfilled now, even before any physical evidence appears. That feeling becomes the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Visualization can help, but it's not just about seeing an image in your mind. It's about stepping into that image emotionally. When you close your eyes and imagine your goal, don't watch it like a movie from the outside. Experience it as if you are already there. Hear the sounds, notice the details, and most importantly, feel what it would feel like to live that reality. The more real you make it in your mind, the more natural it becomes for your subconscious to accept it. At first, it might feel like you're pretending, and that's normal. Your mind is used to identifying with your current circumstances, so stepping into a new emotional state can feel unfamiliar. But unfamiliar doesn't mean false, it just means new. The more you practice feeling your desired state, the more comfortable it becomes. Eventually, it stops feeling like an act and starts feeling like a part of who you are. Your emotional state also influences how you perceive opportunities. When you feel confident and fulfilled, you naturally notice possibilities that you might have ignored before. You become more open, more willing to act, and more resilient when things don't go perfectly. But when you feel doubtful or insecure, your focus narrows, and you miss chances that are right in front of you. This is why your feelings matter so much. They shape not only your inner world, but also how you navigate the outer one. It's important to understand that you don't need to feel perfect all the time. You're human, and emotions will fluctuate. What matters is your dominant state, what you return to most often. If you consistently bring yourself back to the feeling of already having what you desire, that becomes your new baseline. And from that baseline, your thoughts, actions, and experiences begin to align in a different way. Another key is to detach from desperation. When you feel desperate, you're reinforcing the idea that you don't have what you want. But when you feel calm and fulfilled, you send a completely different message. You signal that you are already complete. That sense of completeness removes resistance and allows things to flow more naturally. It's not about forcing an outcome, it's about becoming the version of yourself for whom that outcome feels normal. So start practicing this intentionally. Take a few moments each day to connect with the feeling of your desire already being real, not in a rushed or forced way, but in a calm, focused way. Let yourself enjoy that state without questioning it or trying to analyze it. Over time, that feeling will begin to influence your thoughts, your behavior, and your reality in ways that feel almost effortless. The moment you truly understand that your feelings are not dependent on your circumstances, but are instead a tool to shape them, everything begins to change. You stop waiting for life to give you a reason to feel good, and you start generating that feeling from within. And once you do that consistently, you'll notice that the things you once desired begin to show up, not as surprises, but as natural extensions of the state you've already been living inside. One of the biggest traps people fall into is believing that they need to see something before they can believe in it. They wait for results to appear, for circumstances to improve, for some kind of external confirmation that things are working. But by the time you see something in your reality, it's already the result of what you believed earlier. Reality is not the starting point, it's the reflection. And if you keep waiting for proof before you allow yourself to believe, you stay stuck in the same loop, repeating the same outcomes again and again. Think about how often you've said, "I'll believe it when I see it." It sounds logical, but it quietly keeps you limited. Because if your current reality hasn't changed yet, then there's nothing new to see, and therefore nothing new to believe. So you remain in the same mental state, reinforcing the same patterns. The shift happens when you flip that idea completely, when you decide, "I'll see it because I believe it." That one change moves you from reacting to reality into shaping it. Belief is not something that comes from evidence, it's something you choose and build. Every belief you currently hold started as a thought that you repeated enough times until it felt true. Even your limitations were learned this way. So if beliefs can be formed unconsciously, they can also be formed consciously. You can decide what you want to believe about yourself, about your future, and about what's possible, and then reinforce it until it becomes natural. At first, believing without proof can feel uncomfortable, even unrealistic. Your mind may question it, your past experiences may contradict it, and your environment may not support it. But that discomfort is part of the process. You are stepping outside of what is familiar, and anything unfamiliar feels uncertain in the beginning. The key is not to eliminate doubt instantly, but to keep choosing your new belief even when doubt shows up. Over time, consistency outweighs uncertainty. Your environment is often a delayed mirror of your previous thinking. What you see around you right now is not evidence of what's possible. It's evidence of what you've already been believing. So if you keep using your current situation as proof of your limitations, you continue to feed the same cycle. Instead, treat your vision as the real reference point. Let your future belief guide you, rather than letting your present reality define you. There's also a difference between passive belief and active belief. Passive belief is when you say something is possible but don't truly feel it or act on it. Active belief, on the other hand, influences your decisions, your focus, and your energy. When you actively believe something, you start showing up differently. You take actions that align with your belief, you notice opportunities that support it, and you respond to challenges with a different mindset. This is how belief begins to translate into real change. Look at how belief already works in your life. If you strongly believe something will go wrong, you prepare for it, you focus on it, and often you end up experiencing it. Not because you intended it, but because your belief shaped your behavior and perception. The same principle works in the opposite direction. When you believe something will work out, you approach it with confidence, persistence, and openness. That belief doesn't guarantee a specific outcome instantly, but it dramatically increases the chances of a positive result. It's important to protect your belief, especially in the early stages. When you're building a new way of thinking, it can be fragile. Constantly seeking validation from others or exposing yourself to negativity can weaken it. This doesn't mean you ignore reality or avoid feedback, but it means you stay grounded in your own vision. You remind yourself why you chose this belief and you continue reinforcing it regardless of outside opinions. Repetition plays a major role in strengthening belief. The more you remind yourself of what you've chosen to believe, the more familiar it becomes. Use your thoughts intentionally. Speak to yourself in a way that supports your vision. Visualize outcomes that align with your belief. Over time, your mind starts to accept it, not as something distant, but as something expected. And when something becomes expected, your behavior naturally adjusts to support it. Another powerful aspect of belief is identity. When you believe something deeply, it becomes part of who you are. You no longer feel like you're trying to achieve something. You feel like you are someone for whom that outcome is natural. This shift in identity changes everything. It affects how you think, how you act, and how you respond to challenges. Instead of asking, "Can I achieve this?" you start thinking, "This is who I am becoming." You don't need permission from your current reality to believe in something greater. Your belief is not dependent on what you see, it's a choice you make internally. And once you make that choice and stay committed to it, your reality begins to reorganize itself over time. Opportunities align, paths become clearer, and things that once felt impossible start to feel within reach. So stop waiting for the world to prove something to you before you allow yourself to believe. The proof comes after, not before. Decide what you want to be true, commit to it fully, and let your belief guide your thoughts and actions. Because the moment you stop asking for evidence and start embodying certainty is the moment you begin to create a completely different experience of life. Most people let their current circumstances define what they believe is possible, and without realizing it, they hand over their power to temporary situations. If something isn't working, they assume it never will. If progress feels slow, they assume they're falling behind. But your present reality is not a final statement. It's just a snapshot of past thoughts, past beliefs, and past decisions. It's a reflection, not a prediction. And if you keep treating it like the truth about your future, you'll continue recreating the same patterns over and over again. Your vision, on the other hand, is a glimpse of what could be, and it deserves more loyalty than what you currently see. The problem is that vision is invisible in the beginning, while your circumstances are right in front of you, demanding your attention. It's easy to focus on what's visible, especially when it doesn't match what you want. But the moment you start giving more attention to your current limitations than to your future possibilities, you weaken your own direction. Where your focus goes, your energy follows, and where your energy goes, your results begin to form. Staying loyal to your vision means choosing it repeatedly, even when nothing around you confirms it yet. It means waking up each day and reminding yourself of where you're going, instead of being discouraged by where you are. This isn't about ignoring reality, it's about refusing to let it control your mindset. You can acknowledge your current situation without letting it define your identity. You are not your temporary circumstances. You are the person who can move beyond them. There will be moments when your environment tries to convince you otherwise. You might face setbacks, delays, or situations that seem to contradict everything you've been working toward. In those moments, it's easy to doubt yourself and question your vision. But this is where your commitment is tested. Anyone can stay motivated when things are going well, but true transformation happens when you stay focused, even when things feel uncertain. That's what separates people who eventually succeed from those who give up too early. Your mind naturally looks for evidence, and if you let it, it will constantly point out everything that isn't working. It will remind you of past failures, highlight current obstacles, and create stories about why things won't change. But you don't have to follow every thought your mind produces. You can redirect your focus. You can choose to give your attention to what supports your vision instead of what contradicts it. This doesn't mean pretending challenges don't exist. It means refusing to let them become your identity. When you stay loyal to your vision, your actions begin to align with it, even in small ways. You start making decisions based on where you want to be, not where you currently are. You think differently, you speak differently, and you carry yourself differently. These small shifts might not seem significant at first, but they create momentum. Over time, that momentum builds into noticeable change, and eventually, your external reality begins to reflect your internal commitment. It's important to understand that progress is not always visible immediately. Just because you don't see results right away doesn't mean nothing is happening. Growth often happens beneath the surface before it becomes obvious. Just like a seed takes time to break through the soil, your efforts and mindset shifts are working in ways you can't always measure. If you keep digging up the seed to check if it's growing, you interrupt the process. The same applies to your vision. Constant doubt and second guessing slow things down. Comparison can also weaken your loyalty to your vision. When you look at others and measure your progress against theirs, you lose focus on your own path. Everyone's journey unfolds differently, and comparing timelines only creates unnecessary pressure. Your vision is personal to you, and it doesn't need to match anyone else's pace. Stay grounded in your own direction, and trust that your process is unfolding in its own way. There's a quiet strength that develops when you remain committed to something that hasn't fully appeared yet. It builds resilience, patience, and confidence. You start to rely less on external validation and more on your internal certainty. That certainty becomes your anchor, especially during uncertain times. It reminds you that even if things don't look the way you want right now, you are still moving towards something meaningful. You also begin to detach from the need for immediate results. Instead of constantly asking, is it working? You focus on showing up consistently. You trust that your efforts, your mindset, and your direction are enough. This shift removes pressure and allows you to move with more clarity and ease. When you're not desperate for results, you become more open, more creative, and more aligned with opportunities that support your vision. Every time you choose your vision over your current circumstances, you reinforce a new pattern. You teach your mind to focus on possibility instead of limitation. You strengthen your belief in what you're creating. And slowly but surely, that belief starts to influence your reality in tangible ways. The gap between where you are and where you want to be begins to close, not because of one big moment, but because of consistent alignment over time. So don't let what you see today convince you to give up on what you know is possible. Your current situation is temporary, but your vision has the power to shape your future. Stay loyal to it, protect it, and keep moving in its direction, even if progress feels slow. Because the moment you stop letting your circumstances define you is the moment you start creating something entirely new. There is a quiet kind of strength in trusting what you cannot yet see, and most people underestimate how powerful that trust really is. They want instant results, immediate confirmation, and clear signs that everything is working. But the deeper truth is that manifestation is not built on urgency, it's built on consistency. It's the steady alignment of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions over time that creates lasting change. And when you learn to trust that process, you remove the pressure that often blocks your progress. Think about how easily people give up when results don't appear quickly. They start strong, full of belief and excitement, but the moment nothing changes externally, doubt begins to creep in. They question whether it's working, whether they're doing it right, or whether it's even possible for them. And that doubt disrupts their consistency. Instead of continuing with the same level of focus, they pull back, hesitate, or abandon the process entirely. What they don't realize is that consistency is what turns possibility into reality. Trusting the process means understanding that everything unfolds in its own time. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. There are factors aligning behind the scenes, opportunities being prepared, circumstances shifting, and paths being created that you can't always see. When you demand immediate results, you overlook this deeper movement. But when you trust, you allow things to come together naturally, without forcing them or rushing the outcome. Consistency is what keeps your vision alive, even when your emotions fluctuate. There will be days when you feel confident and aligned, and days when you feel uncertain or discouraged. That's part of being human, But consistency is not about feeling perfect every day. It's about continuing your practice regardless of how you feel. It's choosing to think in alignment with your goals, to return to your desired state, and to stay committed even when motivation is low. Your daily habits play a huge role in this process. The small things you do repeatedly shape your mindset and your direction. It's not one big action that creates transformation. It's the accumulation of small, intentional choices over time. When you consistently remind yourself of your vision, when you consistently choose empowering thoughts, and when you consistently act in alignment with what you want, you create momentum. And that momentum makes progress feel more natural and less forced. Trust also means letting go of the need to control every detail. Many people try to plan exactly how their desires will unfold, but life doesn't always follow a straight line. Sometimes the path looks different from what you imagined, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. In fact, it often means there's a better route forming, one that you couldn't have predicted. When you hold on too tightly to a specific outcome or timeline, you create resistance. But when you stay open and flexible, you allow better possibilities to emerge. There's a difference between giving up control and giving up effort. Trusting the process doesn't mean doing nothing. It means taking aligned action without forcing results. You still show up, you still make decisions, and you still move forward. But you do it with a sense of calm instead of pressure. You focus on what you can control, your mindset, your effort, your consistency, and you release what you can't control, the exact timing and form of the outcome. Patience becomes easier when you shift your perspective. Instead of seeing waiting as something frustrating, you begin to see it as part of the journey. Every phase has a purpose, even the ones that feel slow or uncertain. These phases are often where growth happens, where you develop resilience, clarity, and a stronger sense of self. Without them, the outcome wouldn't have the same depth or meaning. Trusting the process means valuing these stages instead of resisting them. Another important aspect of trust is self-belief. When you trust yourself, you don't need constant reassurance from the outside world. You don't need approval, validation, or proof from others to keep going. You know that you are capable, that you are learning, and that you are moving forward, even if the results aren't visible yet. This inner confidence keeps you grounded and focused, no matter what is happening around you. It's also important to notice how far you've come, not just how far you have to go. When you only focus on what's missing, you create a sense of lack that can weaken your motivation. But when you acknowledge your progress, no matter how small, you reinforce a sense of growth. That positive reinforcement encourages you to keep going and strengthens your trust in the process. Over time, something powerful begins to happen. What once required effort starts to feel natural. The thoughts you had to consciously choose become automatic. The habits you had to build become part of your routine. And the version of yourself you were trying to become starts to feel like who you've always been. This is the result of consistency. It transforms effort into identity. Eventually, the results you were waiting for begin to show up, often in ways that feel effortless compared to the struggle you once expected. And when they do, you realize that it wasn't luck or coincidence. It was the result of everything you consistently did and believed over time. You understand that every moment of patience, every act of trust, and every small step mattered. So keep going even when it feels slow. Stay aligned even when it feels uncertain. Trust, not because you have proof, but because you understand the process. Because the reality you are creating is not built in a single moment. It's built through consistent alignment, steady belief, and the quiet confidence that what you're working toward is already finding its way to you.